welcome to Module 2. I hope you are sitting comfortably, grab yourself a drink, maybe a cup of tea or something decaf if it's your evening, and we will dive into this second module. So for anyone who's taken a break since Module 1, I'll just recap really quickly. So far we spoke about why sleep is important, how it links to other factors of health, and what that looks like in the context of everyday life. In this module, we will really dig into the evidence base of how we can use nutrition strategies to optimize our sleep. So first, we are going to address different sleep requirements for different people, so you know where you stand with your sleep needs personally. And then the stages of a sleep cycle, and then we will link this to my favorite bit, which is how to have the best nap so that you wake up feeling refreshed. Now, this isn't connected to nutrition directly, but it's something I think more people should know, so I have included it as a little extra for you anyway. And then we will briefly look at current sleep practices and then how we can use nutrition to improve our sleep and optimize it. So your sleep requirements change as you go through the life cycle, and this can be due to a number of factors, but I would say the main factor is age. So when we are younger, we need much more sleep. And then stress plays a role as well. Physical exertion, so this could be planned exercise, or it could be that you have a really physically demanding job. And then health status as well. So if you're not well, whether it's either acute short-term illness or long-term chronic disease, this affects your sleep requirements. And pregnancy actually also falls under this category as well. So all these factors affect your sleep needs, but for an average adult, which I'm guessing will apply to most of you, we require 7 to 9 hours sleep per night to stay healthy and remain in optimal health. Like I said before, the younger you are, the more sleep you tend to need, and this is because growth, physical development and mental maturation have a very high energy demand. But as an adult, 8 hours is a pretty good target to aim for. But remember, right, that time in bed is not time asleep. So maybe 10% of your time in bed is taken just to relax and wind down. So if you set your alarm for 7 a.m. and count back 8 hours and plan your bedtime for 11 p.m., that means you will get less than 8 hours sleep. So it's really important to remember to factor that in. So this table on the right here is a really good reference point for you to see your sleep needs and the sleep needs of your families too. So that tells us how much total sleep time we need, and I'm not sure about you, but I was brought up being told that napping is bad, and I've always instinctively thought that having a nap during the day means that you won't sleep as well at night because it disrupts your sleep cycle, which is true to an extent, but napping can be super helpful as it can make up our total sleep time needed, or reduce your sleep debt as it's often called. So there is a best way to nap, which we are going to go through now. To have a good nap and wake up feeling refreshed, we need to first understand our sleep cycle, which is made up of 4 stages and typically lasts around 90 minutes in total. Stage 1 is a type of non-REM sleep, which stands for non-rapid eye movement sleep. This first stage lasts between 5 to 10 minutes and is very light sleep. It's just, when you're kind of dozing off that stage. So if someone woke you up in that stage, you wouldn't necessarily realise you'd even fallen asleep. Then we move into stage 2 sleep, which is also non-REM sleep, and this is when you are preparing to enter deep sleep, but you are still in light sleep at this stage. And this lasts up to 25 minutes. So if we want to wake up refreshed from a nap, we want to make sure that we stay in the light stage of sleep so we can just get a quick reboot and then wake up good to go. If we allow ourselves to go into deeper sleep, then we are going to wake up feeling woozy and sluggish and groggy. So this means we want to keep naps to 25 minutes or less to remain just in those first 2 stages, which are the light sleep. If we go into stage 3 sleep, this is the longest period in the sleep cycle, and this is deep sleep. Stage 4 is also deep sleep, and this is where we get REM sleep. You might have heard people talking about REM sleep before, which just stands for rapid eye movement, and our brains are super active in this stage, and that actually is active as when we are awake, which is quite crazy to me. And this is the stage when we dream. So stage 4, our REM sleep, this is when we experience our dreams. So if you're woken up in this stage, you will likely feel super confused and take some time to kind of come around and adjust. But this stage 4 then completes the full sleep cycle. So if you want a longer nap, the alternative to the short 25-minute nap is a full 90-minute nap, which allows you to complete the full sleep cycle. And either of these options should leave you waking up and feeling refreshed. So current habits to improve sleep are fairly practical, suggesting things like nap to make up total sleep time, like we've just talked about. Also sleeping in a cold, dark room, reducing screen time before sleep, and wearing blue light blocking glasses. So these have all proven to be effective, quite practical things, but we can complement these practices with nutrition strategies. And I've got 5 important nutrition strategies to share with you today. This first one being don't eat too close to bedtime. And I mentioned the reason for this briefly in module 1, if you can think back to that. This is because eating a heavy meal within 3 hours of going to sleep will cause your digestive system to keep working during that period when your body wants to power down. And this means that you won't get quality deep sleep because your body is still active. So aim to eat your last meal 2 to 3 hours before bed, and maybe think about having a lighter meal if this isn't possible. So people tend to eat dinner as their heaviest meal, but maybe you could swap this round and have a heavier lunch and a lighter dinner to support your digestive system in shutting down to allow good sleep at night. My second nutrition strategy for you is no caffeine after 12 p.m. And I'm sure many of you have heard this before, but caffeine affects your body for up to 10 hours after you consume it. And this varies between people. Some individuals are super sensitive, whereas for others, the effects may wear off after 4 to 5 hours maybe. But seeing as it's likely that you don't know this information about yourself on a molecular level, it's probably a good idea to just rein the caffeine in after lunchtime. So instead, what we can do, we can swap to decaf options or drink herbal or fruity teas. And also, remember, don't get caught out. Try and avoid fizzy drinks or carbonated or energy drinks as well, because many of these contain caffeine. My next top tip for you is to consume tryptophan before you go to bed. And tryptophan is an amino acid, so it can be found in protein-rich foods. As amino acids are the building blocks of all proteins. But this particular amino acid gets converted into serotonin and melatonin in our bodies, which are the hormones that help us to feel sleepy. So we want to make sure that we are having protein before bed, whether this be in our dinner or maybe dessert or a snack. You can break it up however you like, really. It's good to consume protein regularly throughout the day anyway. And I have some ideas for you on this later in module 3 of dinner ideas, snack ideas, and a dessert idea as well that include this tryptophan and food sources of it. So consuming carbohydrates before bed alongside protein. So the tryptophan that we just mentioned, we want to consume carbohydrates alongside that. And this is because when we consume carbs, our bodies release insulin in order to utilize and deal with the energy from those carbs. But insulin also removes all amino acids except for tryptophan from the bloodstream. And what this means is tryptophan can enter the brain much easier, where it is then converted into serotonin and melatonin. So essentially tryptophan's got no competition, so it gets converted into those sleep promoting hormones much easier. So we should make sure to consume some fruits or veggies or legumes in our dinners and desserts. And I recommend these over heavier starchy carbs to keep the meal light, as remember, we don't want to keep our digestive systems awake by eating a super heavy meal late in the evening. And for the same reason, we would want to keep the portion size of the carbohydrates moderate as well. Okay, my fifth and final nutrition strategy for you is to make sure you are consuming enough magnesium based on this table on the right hand side. You can use this as a reference point based on your gender and age, but magnesium is a key mineral for sleep as it gets converted into melatonin in the body. So we can find magnesium in green leafy veg, usually dark green leafy veg, so more like your kale and your spinach as opposed to lettuce. Nuts and seeds, whole grains, essentially any food that is quite fibrous, that's a pretty good indicator of magnesium. So we want to make sure we're eating lots of these foods in our evening meals, and just in general too, as we want to keep magnesium levels generally high. We can add a portion of green veg to your evening meals maybe, or sprinkle nuts and seeds on salads or yogurt. And again, I have some more ideas for you in module 3. So to summarize on these 5 key nutritional strategies, we want to eat dinner 2 to 3 hours before bed. We want to make sure that we have a moderate portion overall and also a moderate portion of the carbohydrates. No caffeine after 12 p.m. We want to make sure that we're including protein, as that's a source of tryptophan. Tryptophan is the amino acid that gets converted into those sleep promoting hormones. We want to consume carbohydrates alongside that, as it makes that tryptophan absorption much more effective, and we want to make sure that we're consuming magnesium as well, as it gets converted into melatonin, that sleepy hormone. So in the next module, I'm going to share with you some meal ideas as well as desserts and snacks that are crafted to hit all of these 5 key nutrition strategies. So please join me for that. Thank you for listening, everyone. I will see you for our final module.